Hello again. I'm back. It's been a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. Personal issues and other problems that have kept me from doing the next video here. I am jumping around. The next topic I am trying to keep around 15 minutes or less and to combine 3 topics instead of what I was originally going to be planned. Power, control, and strength are the topics that I want to talk about. These are important and I'll kind of go into them. However, I would have to say that I have some knowledge on this because I did a class. I wrote down an entire class and took notes and stuff over a decade ago for Bible study, for a Bible study class that I never actually gave. I lost the notes and had to throw them away, unfortunately. This is back when I had I lost the Bible and the notes were in them, and rediscovered it later when everything was just honestly all trashed, and unfortunately I had to throw it out. So I lost them. Why these are important though is because people believe they either believe in one or the other or in both, that there is goals and dreams and a logical plan to follow that does not involve any spiritual beings, any gods, or anything like that. Like, you are the author of your life, and this is how you are going to live it. This is how you're going to lead it. And it's very logical in that sense. And that is perfectly fine. Now, on the other side, there are people who have, they have a religion, they have faith, and they have belief in beings, spiritual beings that they choose to follow, and to allow them to guide their lives, how they interpret it. That's the important thing, is how you interpret it, what you believe, and how that plays an impact in your life. There are those who believe in a combination of both, and honestly, they have some very good points too. You're living in a physical world, you are a spiritual being, and you take what you can to try to help yourself out to be the best version of yourself, to be who you were meant to be, or to be who you are told to believe. There's different variances for all of us that is important to mention. However, this is subjective, and each person must choose how they're going to live their life and what they're going to believe and what they're going to use in order to live their life. Now, as far as the topics, I wrote down something when a response to someone else that is very peculiar, but it's for a totally different lesson. I'm not going to go into what the original comment was because it's not a part of this. But the response is very good because it's talking about strength. Following the basics that you've learned ensures results, not that you become stronger. Strength comes from internal discipline of a strict kind or an external source, with action that follows belief. Strength itself, if you want to take it apart from like what is supernatural, what is spiritual, what is religious, if you want to separate it, strength would just be your inner character in combination with your physical capabilities. For example, let's start with the most obvious. How much you can lift at a gym. You start there because it's the most simple, but you want to work your way up past that. Strength also could imply your character and who you are, and that would come across a little bit differently, but with your interactions with other people, it would show what kind of strength of character that you have. Are you loud? Are you loud, or are you just very wishy-washy? Do you make an impact, or do you sound like you've been punched too much and you flinch? That flinching can be heard in your voice. So the strength can come across in a few different ways, not just simply like by posture, by tone of voice, and not just simply by your strength, by how much you can lift. For spiritual wise, this is tied to who you believe in, because there is what is called strength of will, and when you believe in something very strongly, and you believe that you've been blessed in certain ways, that you have certain gifts, and that you rely upon them, that reliance, to an extent, becomes a source of your strength that you are confident in. So confidence, gifts, and it is important to note that this is closely synonymous with power. I looked up official definition. It's synonymous with power. It is important to mention there. Let's see what else. There's a few verses that I will put down below. Ephesians 6:10, Jeremiah 9:23 through 24, Mark 14:38, Corinthians 12:9. These are verses that talk about it in a different way. Moral qualities versus physical capabilities is another way to... Oh, sorry, that's for power. Strength. Mentioned over 360 times, natural versus supernatural. That is another point to mention here, to make. What you have, what you're bringing to the table, so to speak, versus what is given to you. This is more subtle and harder to understand and to see, but it ties in with inner qualities, inner character as well, that's being that you bring forth versus what has impacted you in a powerful way. There are no examples that come to mind, unfortunately, outside of a couple of people from the Bible. Samson is one of those people where the strength of the Lord came upon him, and he tore 2 gates from their ground. I don't remember the exact dimensions of them, but these were... There's other information out there that you can find if you want to actually see just what the size and dimensions were of the city gates, because it's literally the whole thing, the entire gates plus the hinges. However, that is particularly mentioned as the strength coming from God to him in a moment. Like the strength of the Lord came upon him, and he did this great deed. This happened quite a few times. The slaying of the Philistines with the donkey's jaw, overpowering the Philistines when they came to tie him up and subdue him when he was in Delilah's house. These are important to note because strength was given to him that he did not have. His natural strength was speculated to be more of a weak, like he looked like a physically weak person. So that is a speculation that's come from scripture that is of interesting to note, where a weak person can have moments of strength where they become almost like someone else entirely. There are those other things that you hear in news where mothers, they seem to get a strength from somewhere else to go rescue their babies, their kids. That's pretty darn powerful. All right, moving on here. Strength, control. Self versus surroundings. This touches upon strength as far as inner quality and character and such as that. But the control aspect can be a lot more insidious and manipulative. Are you attempting to control others, or are you attempting to work on yourself to develop these inner qualities? That's kind of what it goes down to. There's a lot known and a lot that is that branches out into other paths, other conversations and topics, like people who are very prideful, those who are very narcissists, for example. You know, trying to have emotional supply and trying to manipulate other people. Like, it branches out quite a bit, significantly. But the core of it just is yourself versus how you control yourself versus how you control others around you. You could have an entire lifestyle. Your whole life could be dedicated around just bossing and dealing with other people rather than yourself. Needless to say, that's not going to end too well when you get a little bit older and you are not who you used to be, and all of that. Let's see. Moving on. Power. Moral qualities versus physical capabilities. Ultimate power corrupts. That is a saying that many people have heard. That also comes down to believing that people are inherently fallen. Like, we are good, but if you want to ask a Christian, it would be basically, we are born in a sinful world and we are unfortunately inherently evil. So there's a lot of discussion as far as whether or not you're born evil or born innocent. And the point is, moral qualities are, they're just simply, they're not there, they need to be developed. Because there's too many people who've grown up in just bad environments, and they become better because of they've been through shit, they've been through a lot, and they've changed. They've worked on some of their issues and problems, and they become someone else. They become someone who is healthier, someone who they focus on bettering themselves and getting to a better spot in life. There are plenty of those who are in positions of power and they become a lot worse. You could easily look at the stories from a couple of years ago from the Catholic priests. I mean, it's heartbreaking in its own way, where spiritual leaders would take advantage of those in their congregation. Power play, manipulation, abusing what you have. Yeah, these are all just awful. But going back to what I was saying, moral qualities versus physical capabilities. It's not just simply how much influence you have over others, but it is definitely a majority of that. Mathew 22:29 comes to mind in regards to that. Honestly, everything else just kind of goes off to strength and control. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. These are just my thoughts on it. These are important because, just to kind of recap what I said before, like, your life, how you live it, and the direction that you're going in. You can choose to be completely physical, or you can choose to have a higher power, have someone else in your life who you follow and you look up to, someone else whose rules that you try to follow and try to abide by. And I would have to say, this is a bit humorous, so just humor me here. I was watching a few videos a couple hours ago about Jedi and Sith, and honestly, there's some interesting concepts there that are worth mentioning about how power can be used very self-centeredly, and the more that you try to chase after it, the worse you become. Like, the more you try to have it in your life, the worse of a person you become. It's interesting to mention that. So, it's just a little side note I wanted to add in there. Anyway, hope y'all doing alright, and I will try to check back in later. Alright, take care.